What's up guys, and welcome to a new video. So today we're going to cover my in-game version of the HOTA Barbarian that does not utilize any uber uniques. Although I did get lucky and I found a Shaco after only 60 Duriel runs, none of the gameplay that is recorded was using the Shaco. It does use charge in the build also, but it's more for utility and a source of proccing our unstoppable for our Tybalt's Will Pants. This build absolutely walks through everything that the game has to currently offer and is extremely tanky. And I've seen ticks of damage of up to 300 million. With a few choice uber uniques, this build could be doing 3 times that damage easily. I will cover everything in depth, from the skills used to the Paragon board choices. Timestamps will be down below, so feel free to jump ahead at any time. And at the end of the video, there will be Tier 100 Vault gameplay if you want to go ahead and check that out. If this guide ends up being helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave me a comment down below. Anyways, let's get right into it. So we'll briefly go over the skills used in the build. Up top you can see we have Lunging Strike. We don't use Lunging Strike at all anymore. I don't even have it in my action bar. Right here we have Hammer of the Ancients. Obviously this is our main damage dealer. You're going to have it set to your bludgeoning weapon. And then down here we have Rallying Cry. This is one of our sources of unstoppable. Gives us a lot of good stuff. Movement speed, resource regeneration, Fury when we use it. Just really good overall. War Cry, this gives us berserking, 15% of maximum life is Fortify, and then makes it to where we actually deal more damage. We have Charge. Now, like I had said in the intro, Charge does obviously do some damage. We're using Charge though mainly for the unstoppable, and then also it's like helps us to get around quick. It does damage enemies and kind of knocks them into a group, so that's why we're using that. And then we also have Wrath of the Berserker for our ultimate skill. This is making us go unstoppable also, granting berserking for a long period of time, and then, increased damage on top of that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and go into the construct choices now. Real quick over here, I have Protect, Duration, Tactical, and Safeguard. Now you can see that Protect gives us a barrier for 49% of our life, for a total of 9 seconds, the way that we have it set up, and has a 12-second cooldown. So for 3 seconds, you can see my construct right there keeps casting it on me. Now, a lot of people are actually going with the Flash of Adrenaline for the, when it's level 10, you would have 20% increased damage, and it's up all the time, with this setup. But I'm not using that because if you actually see right here, I'm using the Conceited aspect, deal 25% in multiplicative increased damage while you have a barrier active. And we have that barrier active pretty much all the time. And then on top of that, we're getting a little bit more damage than we would be from that. And as well, we're also getting this barrier that you'll see right here in a second. We get a 13k barrier pretty much constantly. I mean, and that helps our defenses out like pretty immensely. So it's really nice to have that. Back into here though. So that's why we use Protect. Now, when we get the, which one is it? Genesis right here. Then we will, trade out one of these stones down here. I think the Safeguard support actually for Genesis. And then that would actually boost the other stone up to where it'd make it worth using Flash of Adrenaline, because you get like a 50% multiplier. Now at that point, we're going to switch it out. But for right now, until I have the Uber Unique Stone, I'm going to use Protect up there. And then, we put Duration support for the longer duration, makes it go up to 9 seconds. Tactical, increases the cooldown. And then we have Safeguard right here for damage reduction. You can kind of put whatever you want into this slot, but eventually, when you get it, you will put Genesis down there. And then over here, we're running Tempest. You can see right there, basically, this damages enemies with electricity. Doesn't really do a whole lot of damage. I mean, it does a little bit of damage, but not enough to really notice. But then that's going to proc our initiative support. Right here, the construct can teleport to like enemies, because if you notice, sometimes he's kind of like behind, or he's not even like around you. This makes it to where he's teleporting up next to you like pretty frequently. So he's casting his stuff more often. Right here we have breaking support. Now this is actually really good. You see right here at level 10, damage with the supported skill instantly destroys enemy barriers effects. I killed a tier 100 butcher, and anybody that's killed a tier 100 butcher, you guys know that he has a crazy barrier on him. Well, when our construct hit him, his barrier's gone. So I mean, not only did we already melt him even in tier 100 with this build, but especially when he has no barrier, he just dies immediately. And then this is also nice because whenever the construct hits an enemy, they're vulnerable for 2 seconds. Now, We do have vulnerable for 3 seconds on hit, but this just keeps enemies or bosses vulnerable all the time for us. So that's why I chose breaking support right here. And then last but not least, we have resource support. I mean, this just boosts our resource constantly. You know, it's awesome, so it helps a lot with the build. Now we'll jump into the gear and aspects used on the build. Real quick, you can see right here, you know, I say this in all my videos, you want to get your resistances up, guys. When D4 first launched, resistances didn't matter too much, but they do now. So you want to cap your resistances. I mean, I'm missing just a tiny little bit right here. That's not a big deal. But you definitely want to cap your resistances. And then you want to get like at least around 12, 13k armor to be capped off. I mean, we have almost 15k armor, so we're doing great right there. We have, you know, maximum damage reduction of 85% right there. So you can see right here, we focus a lot on strength with this build. Strength, you can see, turns into damage and armor for us, so it helps out, you know, for defense and damage. Strength is great, so try to get that anywhere you can. But anyways, up into the helmet. We'll start off with the helmet. You don't have to have any uber uniques. Like I said, I did find a Shaco off of Duriel after like 60 runs, which was awesome. But you don't have to have the Shaco. This is what I was using right here for a long time. I just got damage with berserking and resistances that I needed. Worked just great. When I first started killing Duriel, obviously he drops the Tusk Helm and the Godslayer Crown all the time, so I got those. I would use that to kill Duriel with, and then this in Nightmare Dungeons once I got them. But you can also use just like this, and you want to throw the Relentless Berserker aspect on there, and just get whatever you need on there. Damage, you know, resource, damage while berserking. You know, it'll work out just fine for you. Into the body armor. So I have overpower damage, total armor, shadow resistance, because I needed that shadow resistance, and damage reduction. You want to get as much damage reduction as you possibly can right here. Honestly, I'd probably rather have damage reduction over the overpower damage, but that's just what I have for now, so it's okay. The new Juggernauts aspect, you see right there, gives us a ton of armor. It increases our cooldown of evade, but, you know, we don't evade with this, you know, this build anyway, so that's great. You want to have the Juggernauts aspect. I have a better one, actually, than that. Give me like 5,600 armor, but I really don't even need it. As you can see, I'm already at 14k right here, so we're pretty juiced up with that. Oh yeah, real quick, guys, in all of your body armor, you want to get rubies for maximum life. And then over here, cap your resistances if they're capped. Then get skulls for more armor. And then down here, you want to get rubies for overpower damage. Now we'll go into the gloves. Real quick on the gloves. Try to get strength, overpower damage, 5% chance to restore your primary resource. You know, with this build, the more resource that we have, the more damage we do. So we want as many ways of restoring a resource as possible. And then you definitely want to get the 4 ranks to Hammer of the Ancients. And then we want to go with the Ancestral Force aspect. You see right there. Gives a 15% multiplier to Hammer of the Ancients, and it also makes it to where it does like an AoE damage around you. Really important. As soon as you get them, you want to get Tibalt's Will. You can get, you know, regular pants. I did it for the longest time up until I started killing Duriel without Tibalt's. It is really nice when you get them though. When you go Unstoppable, you get a chunk of damage up to 40% multiplier. You get 50 of your primary resource, which is, you know, boosted by things like our resource regeneration on our rings. And then up on the amulet, you know, so you definitely want to get Tibalt's as soon as you get it. Even if you get low rolls, it's still better than regular pants. And, you know, it gives us a lot of good options on here. But you can run regular pants, just go with a bunch of damage reduction. And whatever, like, defensive aspect, pretty much whatever aspect that you want to put on there, that's up to you. Down into the boots, we go right here with the Ghostwalker aspect. Well, Unstoppable, which we're pretty much always unstoppable. We gain more movement speed and we can move freely through enemies, which is nice. Now, our boots are going to be our main, like, spot that we get resistances. As you can see, I have a lot of resistance right there. That's what makes it to where I don't have to have any on my helmet and, you know, other pieces of gear. Like I only have shadow resistance right here. No resistances obviously on your Tibalt's. So you want to try to get, you know, tri-res boots with really high rolls, whatever you're missing, and you definitely want to get movement speed. And then the Ghostwalker aspect right there. Down here into our main damage dealing weapon, you want to try to get 925 item power on anything and everything that you can. Obviously, definitely on your weapon though, because that impacts your damage overall pretty immensely. You want to try to shoot for what I have exactly right there. All stats, strength, overpower damage, and damage while berserking. Really important. You don't have to have those, but try to get as close to that as you possibly can. Let's see, like right here, I have them. Right here, I almost have them. I'm missing right there. Instead of the damage to close, I would prefer to have overpower, but, you know, that's just what I have right there. And then I have all the stats on that one, so pretty close aside from this one item right here. I have almost perfect stats all the way across the board. For the aspect on here, you want to go with the Edge Masters aspect, 40% multiplier depending on how much resource we have. Up here into the amulet. Now when it comes to the amulet, obviously right away, especially at the start of the league, you're not going to have Banished Lord's Talisman. I just got mine recently. This is a big thing in the build though. We have like, I think 3 or 4 ways of proccing overpower, and this is one of them. This is like our main way of proccing it. You can see right there, after you spend 300 of your primary resource, your next core skill is guaranteed to overpower, and your critical strikes at overpower deal 120% multiplicative increased damage. So that's where you see those ticks of like almost 300 million. It's, you know, the Banished Lords is kicking in right there. And then it has a bunch of other good stats for the build. Now, up until then though, I would say get, you know, a regular amulet. You know, you can get damage reduction, total armor, damage sources, levels to like whatever skills that you want to. Let's see, really quickly, you would try to look for, you know, on your amulet levels to brute force. Like you can get like 3 on there. Or then also like the amulet that I had before this, I had 3 levels to counter offensive right here, which was nice. Nice damage. So you definitely want to just go with whatever you can find. And then, like I said, when you can, get the Banished Lords right there. Now down here, Varshan drops this ring all the time. It drops in dungeons. I've found a ton of them since the launch of the League. The Ring of Red Fury. This is just obviously great for the build. Gives us strength, attack speed, fury, resource regeneration. And then also, you see right down there, after spending 100 fury within 3 seconds, your next cast of Hammer of the Ancients, Upheaval, or Death Blow within 5 seconds is a guaranteed critical strike that deals 30% multiplicative increased bonus critical strike damage, which that is huge. I mean, so basically with this ring, if you time it right, you're like every other hit is a guaranteed crit. And if you time that along with your Banished Lords overpower, I mean, that's where you're just seeing these huge numbers. That's where they're coming from. So, and then obviously, you know, we're getting it from all of our stats and everything else. But, you know, when the stars align with everything, you will see really big numbers with this build. Down into our other ring right here, you want to get the aspect of Unrelenting Fury. Killing an enemy or hitting a boss with a core skill refunds up to 30% of its base fury cost. This helps our fury regeneration a lot. Try to get the highest roll you can. The best that I've found so far was 27. And then on your ring, you want to try to go with the same stats as you have on your weapons, or pretty close to that. Right there, you get damage while berserking for sure. You want to get maximum fury, resource regeneration, then overpower damage. I mean, that's like really important. So I have critical strike damage. In a perfect world, though, I'd want to have overpower damage right there. And then down here, you want to go with a 2-handed axe. Now, really quick, the next uber unique that I'm looking for is the Grandfather. That's what I had on my barb last season. That adds a ton of damage to the build. So, you know, with the Grandfather, with the Shaco on, with the uber unique in for our construct, and with everything else going on, we'll be hitting way more damage than we are right now. We're already doing enough to kill everything easily. But until then, like I said, I don't even have the Grandfather yet. You want to get a 2-handed axe right here. And then, like we said, with the same stats. And then you want to get the aspect of Limitless Rage right there. Basically, any fury that we generate over our cap gives us a huge multiplier of damage because of that aspect. Now, once you do get the Grandfather, or if you do end up getting the Grandfather, and you drop the 2-handed axe right here, you're going to want to take this aspect. You'll want to throw this over here. Get rid of the conceited aspect. And then, you know, you can switch over to Adrenaline with your construct if you want, instead of having the one that I do that gives us the barrier right here. So, you know, that's just a choice if you do end up getting the Grandfather right here in this slot, which I plan to get really soon. So, all right, for our expertise, nothing's changed here. We're just going to stick with the 2-handed axe expertise. Gives us a 15% multiplier when we damage a vulnerable enemy, and we're always making enemies vulnerable. All right, now we'll go ahead and dive into the skill tree up top. And we're going to make it brief with the skill tree. Up top, lunging strike, and then run it back. We don't even use that anymore, but we do have to choose a basic skill to run down here. Right here with our core skills, we're going to go over, get Hammer of the Ancients, back to Enhanced, and then over to Furious, making it to where we're just doing a ton of damage based on our resource. Now we're going to come down to our defensive skills. Right here, we're going to get 3 into Imposing Presence for maximum life, 3 into Martial Vigor, damage reduction against elites, 1 into Rallying Cry. We're going to run that back to Tactical Rallying Cry. You know, we get resource regeneration and, you know, a lot of good stuff from Rallying Cry. Makes us go unstoppable and procs our pants. 1 into Outburst and 1 into Tough as Nails. That way we're making enemies bleed around us. And then when we kill a bleeding enemy because of a thing in our Paragon board, it makes it to where we can, you know, get Berserking also. We have like a 10% chance. And then also we have damage reduction against bleeding enemies. So we want to get one into there and 1 into there just to make enemies that hit us bleed. We're going to come down to our brawling skills. You're going to want to take War Cry, run that back to Mighty War Cry. 3 into Booming Voice. more duration on our shouts. 3 into guttural yell, makes enemies around us do less damage. Right here we're going to put 1 into aggressive resistance, just so we can get back here to battle fervor. Now we have charge, and obviously charge makes us go unstoppable. That's one of our main reasons we're using it. And then if you run that back over to here, you can see right here when you hit enemies, you can reduce the cooldown up to 9 seconds. And then I also got that because right here you can see we have 3 into this. When a brawling skill damages at least 1 enemy, gain berserking for 3 seconds. So every time that we hit an enemy with our charge, we're going berserking also. And we want to keep berserking up, as often as possible. And then I have 2 points into swiftness right here. Movement speed's always good. Down here into our weapon mastery, we're going to put 3 into pit fighter. Get 9% increased damage to close and 6% damage reduction. Down here into thick skin, so that we can get back into counteroffensive. While you have fortified for over 50% of your maximum life, you deal 12% multiplicative increased damage, and our fortify is just always pretty much capped off, so we're always getting that damage bonus. Down into our ultimate skills, now we take Wrath of the Berserker. This obviously gives us unstoppable berserking and a ton of damage. We're going to run that all the way back to Wrath of the Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. We want to get these 3 clusters over here. This little tree or branched off tree over here gives us a ton of damage. 3 into heavy-handed, 3 into brute force, and 3 into wallop. Just nice multipliers for the build. And then down here for our key passive, we're going to go ahead and take Unbridled Rage. 4 skills deal 135% multiplicative increased damage, but cost 100% more fury, which is actually a good thing. It makes it proc our amulet for our Banished Lord's Talisman more often, and in turn, because of our Paragon board, it gives us more fortification. Alright guys, we will go ahead and jump into the Paragon board now. Real quick, you definitely want to get all of your glyphs leveled up so you get the bigger radius on them eventually. And, in pathing with the glyphs, if they're bigger radius, it makes it easier to path with them. So definitely want to get your things up, level them up so you get more out of them. There will be a link in the description below for this build if you want to check it out that way. We start on the starter board. We come up right here. We're going to grab Tenacity. Up in this, we're going to put Exploit. Now, we want to run Exploit. In Season 2, we had Metamorphosis, which would make enemies vulnerable if it was done correctly. We don't have that anymore. So we want to have that guaranteed vulnerable. That's a nice chunk of damage anytime an enemy is vulnerable. So with this, for 3 seconds, they're vulnerable. And then our construct also makes anything that it hits vulnerable for 2 seconds. So all enemies are like vulnerable around us at all times. I'm going to run up this side. We're going to get raw power, physical damage, and strength. The next board that we're going to come into is going to be the Warbringer board. You're going to run up here. We're going to grab Hungering Fury, Maximum Fury, and Fury on Kill. Grab this Fury right here. We're going to run over here, get Conditioned, Resistance, Strength. Right here, we're going to throw Crusher. You can see right there, while wielding a mace, you deal 30% multiplicative increase over power damage. Nice boost. And then it gives us, percent damage with maces. We're going to come up here. We're going to grab a Core Reserve for more Maximum Fury and Life. Grab all this around here. I'm going to run this around for Warbringer. For every 75 Fury you spend, you get 15% of your maximum life as Fortify. That's just keeping our Fortify capped off at all times. The next board that we're going to come into is the Bonebreaker board. This is one of our other sources of overpower. We're going to run down here. Let's grab Bulwark right here. And then we're going to grab Bonebreaker right here. Come up this way for Bludgeoneer, damage and overpower damage. You're going to come over here and we're going to put Martial right here. Now Martial, if you see right there, after casting a shout skill, the active cooldown of every other non-shout skill is reduced by 4 seconds. We have 2 shouts, so anytime we cast them, it's reducing our Wrath of the Berserker and our charge. And, making it to where we pretty much have infinite charge, which is nice. We're going to grab Vigor, and we're going to grab Brutality right here for overpower damage and strength. Good nodes all the way around. The next board we're going to come into is going to be the Carnage board. This is the best board for Ire. This should be the first glyph you level to 21. There's 75 strength and radius. Ire gives us damage while berserking, and in just a minute, you'll see why that's so important. Overall, the amount of damage while berserking we have is going to give us a nice multiplier. So come over here, we're going to grab Enraged. We're going to run up here, throw Ire glyph in here. Like I said, get this one to 15, and then up to 21, like first out of all of your glyphs. Over here, we're going to get Brash. We're going to grab Fierce. The next board that we're going to come into is going to be the Blood Rage board. Now you can see right there, killing a bleeding enemy has a 10% chance to grant berserking for 5 seconds. And if you remember, we took those 2 nodes, basically making any enemies that hit us bleed around us. But the big one right here, you can see right there, your damage is increased by 25% multiplicative of your damage while berserking bonus. Right now we're getting a 70% multiplier because of our damage while berserking. We got a ton of damage while berserking. That's why we, get it any spot that we can pretty much. So when you come into this board, you're going to run over here, grab Enraged. Obviously grab Blood Rage. You're going to run around this way. Down here I have Dominate. This is going to be our another one of our sources of overpower. After not overpowering for 30 seconds, your next attack will overpower. You can see in this area we just get enough to where we meet the additional bonus requirement for the willpower. And then the last board that we're going to come into will be the Decimator board right here, guys. You can see right there, anytime we make enemies vulnerable, your damage is increased by 10% multiplicative. And then overpowering a vulnerable enemy, we get another 10% multiplier, so that's up pretty often. In this board right here, we're going to throw in Barbarian. I would say secondly, you want to get this leveled up to 21. This is basically giving us damage while healthy, and this gives us, it inflates our attack power and damage by a lot. And we're always pretty much healthy. We always keep our life, capped off. Healthy is, I think, like above 80% life or more. And this just is a huge boost to our damage, so that'll be right here in our last slot. So that's pretty much it for the guide. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know down below. There will be Tier 100 Vault gameplay right now. Don't forget to leave me a like and a subscribe, guys, if the video has been helpful for you. And leave me a comment. It helps the algorithm, and I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, thanks for watching.
Ready yet. Ready yet. Not ready yet. I'm low on fury. don't have enough fury.